Writing Out Loud, a program designed to explore in-depth interviews with writers to hear that words have voices.
Hello everyone, I'm Teresa Miller and welcome to Writing Out Loud. My very special guest today is blockbuster author P.C. Cass. Thank you for being here, Phil.
I love being here, Teresa. Thank you for having me again.
Well, we love having you. Even as we talk, you've got a new book atop the bestseller list, Revealed. Your publisher calls it the penultimate book in the House of Night series. Why penultimate?
Well, first of all, it was very nice of him.
Yeah.
I think that as we come to the end of the series, to me, as I'm writing it, it feels like I'm writing the end of a big book. And you know that you and I have spoken before about this, how my writing process is like, it's like a roller coaster. And the first part of a book is like the click, 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 and I have to like climb up. But then when I get a certain place, every single book goes whoosh like that. What's happening at the end of the series is even from the very first pages, it feels like the end of a book to me. So it's all just kind of whoosh for me. So maybe because the writing process is flowing more easily for me, that's translating into a super cool book.
Yeah, well, it is super cool. In the dedication, you thank your readers for asking the right questions about Neferet.
Yes.
What role did they play in the evolution of this story?
They actually completely changed many of the plot aspects in Revealed. After Neferet's Curse came out, the novella that told the backstory about Neferet when she was Emily Wheeler, turn of the century Chicago, right around the World's Fair time, when they read about what happened to her, how she was abused and how she was marked, and then you know, the whole transformation process. It ended just about the time she was marked, so she was still 16 in the novella. I had so much feedback from fans about, we love it, we understand her better now, but we want to know what happens between 16 and between, you know, when she's high priestess at the House of Night in Tulsa. And so I really thought about that a lot because I wanted to know too. And so I found a way to weave that into the text of Revealed. So I had an awesome time going back and telling her history, because I love to go back in history and work with that, you know, past worlds, past lives and everything. And that was just, it was a good time for me. So all those scenes with Neferet were my favorite part in the book to write.
Well, I've got one I want you to read for us, if you will.
Oh,
it's
boy.
good. We don't want to give the story away, but this is good. This is really good.
Did you mark it here?
I did somewhere. Yeah, there you go.
I don't have my glasses on, so I will do my best. This is from Neferet's point of view. The violated girl in the mirror had resurrected a memory that Neferet believed had long ago been dead, buried, forgotten. The past had risen with a force that she had been utterly unprepared to battle. Alive again, the past had killed Neferet. Neferet remembered. She had once been a daughter. She had once been Emily Wheeler. She had once been a vulnerable, desperate child, and the human male who should have been her most vigilant protector had molested, abused, and violated her. The instant Emily's reflection had flashed within the magical mirror, all the decades of power and strength that Neferet had fashioned into a barrier she had used to repress that violation, that murdered innocence, evaporated. Gone was the mighty vampire high priestess. Only Emily remained, staring at the ruin of her young life.
To what extent is Neferet the personification of other young women who've been violated?
Very much so, she is. And actually, I wrote at the end of Neferet's Curse, I had an afterword about making choices after you've been abused and violated. And what I left out of that afterword, after my publisher and I spoke about it, was that when I was 13, I was date raped. And as I know that you know, because you and I are BFFs.
We certainly are.
Yes, we are. But I used a lot of that experience with me and wove it into not just Neferet's Curse, but I imagined what would happen had I not healed. What had happened had I not had the opportunities in my life I did, and made the choices I did. And I understand Neferet very well, and I hope that by the end of Neferet's Curse and Revealed, that my fans understand her well too.
Were you nervous or reticent at all about exposing yourself in this way and your feelings?
You know what? This is what. How many books have I written now? 30. Math is not, you know, my strong suit. But after 30 plus books, it feels like if I haven't exposed part of myself, I haven't done my job as an author. I think that that's what authors do, is they expose either pieces of their life or history or parts of their soul in their books. And if they're not doing that, I don't think that they're showing it in integrity to their fans.
So you think a social responsibility comes with fame?
Big time. Yeah, a social responsibility as in honesty and integrity, and also being uncomfortable as an author. It makes, there were a lot of scenes in Revealed and Neferet's Curse that made me very uncomfortable. My significant other,
Who's so cute.
Yes, he is. He's awesome. He's read all of the books. He will not read Neferet's Curse. He keeps telling me that he wants to, but then he doesn't want to. He knows that he saw me write it. He knows it was painful for me to write, and so he's like, I don't know if I can read it.
And of course, the character who captures our heart and imagination, Zoe. What's the hardest decision you've had to make about Zoe and her future in the series?
The hardest decision for me is not to just give in and do the easy thing, which would be make her have one guy and one choice in life and never make any mistakes. And instead, I have opened myself and opened Zoe to a lot of criticism about the fact that she's had multiple boyfriends and she's made lots of mistakes. At the end of Revealed, Zoe's okay.
Don't give it away.
Okay, she's in big trouble. Big trouble.
Big trouble. And you sign off the book with your signature closing, the end for now. But we know there's only going to be the one more book.
Yes.
Redeemed. Why stop at book number 12?
I am very lucky. I have the ability to keep writing The House of Night. My publisher has told me years ago, ended at book 7, book 10, book 12, book 15. You do what you want to do. So I had the freedom to complete my story arc. And we've talked about it, that I've had the last probably 6 or 7 books outlined in depth before I write them. And it's the natural evolution of the story. The story has come to an end.
Well, you've taken time off from touring to write these 2 last books back to back. Why was that so important?
It feels to me like one big book. And because of my word count issue, I couldn't have them released as one big book, which, me, I would prefer to release books this fat and, every 3 years. But to me, they just went back to back to back. I mean, they start just minutes after the other one ends.
What all do you hope to accomplish with Redeemed? Do you think you'll tie up all the loose ends?
Well, Teresa, I'm going to try to tie up all the loose ends. It's not a problem for me.
Are you going to leave yourself, though, an opening in case, say, 2 years from now, you change your mind and you want to come back to the series?
What I'm going to do is you're going to find out what happens in the ultimate battle between Neferet and the Powers of Darkness and Zoe and Nerdherd and the House of Night. There is an enormous, I'm writing it right now, there's an enormous showdown, and people, the body count is high in this book, and after that happens, I do an epilogue that shows just a year or so in the future, not very long in the future. It's when Zoe turns 18. And Zoe's 17 right now. So so I give you that. You know what the Nerdherd is going out to do. So I do kind of leave it open to if I want to pull up the threads of like Stevie Ray and Rephaim and let you know a decade later what they're doing.
Yeah. You've got a new novella coming out too as part of the series.
Yes, Kelowna's Fall. Yeah, you know how I like to write fantasy.
Yeah, of
so
course.
I am not writing Colonus Fall until I finish Redeemed, though, because I don't want to mess up my own mythology.
Yeah, you're going to have so many different things going on at
Yeah.
once. It's got to be crazy for you and emotional too. Is it
It is.
hard letting some of this go?
It really is. It really is. Kristen and I laugh about the fact that I always make myself and make her cry at least once in every book. And so my goal is to just massive snot crying by the end of the books. And it's very bittersweet. You know, I've lived since 2005 with this cast of characters.
Oh, absolutely. We're showing a screenshot now of the other novellas and the fledgling handbook. Why have they been such important additions to the House of Night family of books?
Well, first of all, I would like to give complete credit for those books being here, the novellas being here, to Matthew Scher, my publisher at St. Martin's, who very recently passed away, and we miss him. We miss him greatly. But we were having dinner. I was having dinner with my St. Martin's family, and Matthew is the heart of that family. And we started talking about not Lenobi. We were talking about Dragon and Anastasia, and someone said something about, well, what about, when did they meet? And I said, oh, well, Anastasia was older than Dragon by a little bit, and they met when he was a fledgling and she was a professor. And Matthew says, do you know all that? And I said, yes. And he said, well, could you write that story? I said, no, my publisher won't give me time. And he was like, done. So it was really their idea, which came out of a really great family dinner with St. Martin's.
And then we're going to have the House of Night films.
Yes, we are.
Update.
I have read the draft of the first treatment of the first movie, and I've made notes, and I think that it's going to be fantastic.
Any chance they'll be filmed here in Tulsa?
I asked my producer, Samuel Hadida at Davis Films, if we could film as much as possible in Tulsa, because that's where my heart is, and it's where the heart of the books resides, and he would very much like to, yes.
You mentioned Kristen. You've written all these books together. Do you think that they brought you closer together as a mother and daughter and helped you get to know each other better?
Well, people ask us that all the time, and you've known us forever.
Before the books?
Way before the books.
Ooh.
And Kristen and I it's always been us. So we've always been really close. It's given me a new appreciation for Kristen professionally. I write the books, and she's my first line editor, and I respect her editorial abilities. I do pretend like she never cuts anything out of my books. I pretend like they're perfect little brilliant butterflies when I hand them to her, and she loves them and nurtures them and gives them back to me exactly the same. It's not really true. She cuts stuff out of my books. But she's a great editor, and she is right now working on her first standalone series.
I think it's going to be great,
I think it's going to be great, too.
MTV has described the House of Night series as Twilight meets Harry Potter. Your thoughts?
Well, I think that House of Night series is more like Harry Potter meets the Avengers meets Gossip Girls.
I like that. Well done. Well said. Speaking of Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling recently revealed that she wrote a novel under another name because she wanted her work judged apart from her celebrity. Can you relate to that at all?
Absolutely. Absolutely, especially as I'm looking at my next new series. It won't be about vampires, I know that. It will be fantasy, and I'd like high fantasy. I like high fantasy. But it does make me, it makes me nervous, but you know what? I'm going to do what I do every single book. I'm going to write the book I most want to read.
You become a major publishing brand. We all think we know you. What do you think would surprise people most to learn about P.C. Cast, the writer?
I'm a giant procrastinator.
Really?
Enormous.
Even with all these
procrastinator.
books out?
Huge procrastinator. I would clean my closets. I used to wash my cat rather than write. I have to get to a point where I'm like, I have to write, and then I'll sit down and really write, and then it just production goes really fast. But I procrastinate big time.
What's the most surprising thing we don't know about PC Cast the Woman?
Well, I'm on day 26 of the Master Cleanse right now. I haven't eaten any food in more than 3 weeks.
And you're writing at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Are you crazy?
Yeah, I'm always crazy, Tess.
Why the cleanse? Why do this?
Well, obviously, I'm not suffering or wasting away. Health reasons. I think it's good to cleanse your body out about every 6 to 9 months.
I've got to say that I've known you a long time, but you surprised me a couple of weeks ago by showing me some of your artwork.
Oh yeah.
Tell us about what you're doing with Mixed Media.
Oh boy, that's this. Now see, this does make me nervous. The books, no, I'm used to that now, but this makes me really nervous. It started by researching for the House of Night. I took, I've traveled extensively for the House of Night.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
taken pictures everywhere, photographs from Scotland to Venice to, all over Oklahoma and just all over in general. And I was taking a lot of photography, a lot of photographs, and I started really liking it. Not just as research, but really enjoying it. So one thing led to another, and I started putting some of them on canvas and hanging them up in my house. And just as good memories, like, ooh, this was in Bordeaux right before we went on tour. Ooh, this is my backyard in Grand Cayman. It's the ocean, right? And friends started seeing them, and you know how many artist friends I have.
Oh, lots, yeah.
And that led to thinking about maybe I should exhibit and sell them, some of them. And then Kristen came up with the idea, because I was kidding for a long time about, guess what, I'm a professional photographer, which I'm really not, okay? But Kristen said, Mom, why don't you add your beading, because I've beaded for years, just to rest my mind, I do a bunch of beading. Why don't you add your beading to the canvases and make it like three-dimensional and mixed media? And I just thought that was an awesome idea, and that led to my first exhibit at the Quality Center.
Exciting.
In October, yeah.
Do you think your visual art has extended your vision as a writer?
I think that, yes, I think that and travel, I think it all does. And there's something about the art that it's like I see things in it that I translate onto the paper, and then it's so cool, paper meaning computer and books, but it's so cool to then show people, okay, look, this is what I saw, and photography is such a unique perspective. It's just it's a three-dimensional way to get across what I write.
All the settings in your novels are beautifully detailed. How important is it for you to be artful in your surroundings?
Well, you know the answer to that question since you've been in my house about a bazillion times. I think that a home is an excuse to hang art.
And you practice feng shui.
Yes, I do. Yes, yes.
You've just moved into a new office. What are the basic essentials you need in your writing space?
Tread desk, always. I've written on a tread desk. I walk and write since like 2006 or 7. I have to have that. Candles, I have to have candles, and then I need my research books, all the House and I books, so I don't forget what I'm writing about and look things up. I have to look things up all the time, and quiet. I can't write with music. I can't. I need the door shut, and I need quiet.
Have you thought about that? How that space is going to change as you transition into a new phase of your career?
I think it's going to stay largely the same, because before House of Night, I needed the same things, and it's just I get cooler stuff now. That's all. But it's the same basic things. Give me my tread desk, give me some candles, give me quiet, and some tea, and I'm fine.
How have you changed as a writer over the years?
Oh, I hope I've gotten better. I hope that I've become more successful at letting my fans see the video that plays in my head as I write.
What do you think are some of the things you've learned just about the craft of writing?
Just get it down. Get it down. Just write it. You can go back and fix it. But if you stand because I'm writing on my tread desk. If you stand there forever and stare at the same paragraph and try to make sure that it's perfect, you will never get past that paragraph.
As you think back over all of the House of Night books, the novellas, the fledgling handbook, what do you see as their legacy?
I hope their legacy is to have opened a lot of teenage eyes and their parents to acceptance and tolerance and acknowledging that many times there is no exact right answer, but it's how you deal with the choices you make and your consequences of those choices, learning from mistakes. I hope that that's the legacy.
And what have you heard from your readers in that regard?
My readers are so funny. I hear a lot.
They love you.
I hear a lot from my readers. Yes, they identify with so many of my characters, and it's wonderful for me to get letters that say, "I know Zoe because I am Zoe," or "Stevie Ray and I could be the same person," and then thank you for writing Damien and giving a voice, a strong, positive voice to gay teenage guys, and that I love hearing that. So whatever I'm doing, they're identifying with.
So you think you've changed lives with these stories?
I hope so, because I left my classroom and I felt like I changed lives in my classroom, so I hope this is just a bigger classroom.
Have you changed your own life, your own perspective with these stories?
I have, very much so. I have learned that a world can start out as this big, and then it builds on itself and builds on itself and builds on itself, and the mythos can grow and evolve.
Do you ever second guess yourself as a writer? As you think back about the early books, do you look at them and say to yourself, I wish I'd done that differently?
Oh,
really?
yes.
Is this a sore subject? Can you give us an example? Just one?
I wish I could rewrite Marked.
Seriously?
Oh, all the time.
It was a very successful book.
I
Why?
know.
Why?
Yes, it was. No, because I try not to actually. That will probably, what I just read will probably be the only time I open up Revealed and read it, unless I'm looking for something. Because as an author, if I'm reading something I've written, my brain's rewriting it the whole time. And I'm like, oh, why did I use that same word twice in the same sentence or in the same paragraph even? So no, to me, writing is rewriting. So I don't like to even look at them.
So Mark's the one that you would rewrite.
Yes.
Which one is your favorite? Do you have a favorite?
Lenobia's Vow. I think that's my favorite. I love the time in history. I love the research I did for it too. New Orleans and France, and it's an awesome book.
We were talking about things people might be surprised to know, and I think we need to mention that someone is right here between these two chairs, because there's been some heavy breathing, and I don't want the audience. No, it's not us. You want to explain what this fuzzy creature is beside us?
Hey, wake up. Hey, seat. Oh, he was sound asleep.
Her muse. Her muse is here.
This is my boy. This is Odin. He goes everywhere with me.
He's a service animal.
Yes, he is. Yes, I know it.
And what kind of service does he provide? Does he help with writer's block?
He helps. He completely crashes through writer's block, and also lines at the grocery store. You can lay back down. That's right. Relax.
Thank you, Odin. We just had to acknowledge you because we didn't want people
Because you're
thinking something
breathing loud.
was really weird that was going on here. As you look back on your career, which is just remarkable, really. I remember when you first came to my class and you dreamed of being a writer, and now, I mean, not only are you a writer, you're a best-selling writer, you've changed lives. What are you most grateful for?
I am most grateful for my agent's belief in me, that even when I had, it seemed like I was never going to be a best-selling author. She believed in me because it was 18 books.
I know.
Before I hit the Times list. She believed in me, and then I'm so grateful for my publisher's support at St. Martin's Press too. Harlequin and Berkeley are publishers of mine, as well as Ben Bella Press, and I adore all of them, but it was St. Martin's who really got behind me and really said, Matthew Sher, he said, I believe in you, and I believe that this is a block-busting, life-changing series, and he was absolutely right.
I want us to end by talking about new beginnings. What's next for you?
I am going to write a high fantasy series.
Okay, good.
And hopefully I can go back to my big fat fantasy books that I enjoy so much. I already have an outline going in my head. That's how I think. When I get to the end of one book, I always start thinking of the next. So I'm thinking of the next. And also, I'm going to travel a lot.
I think that's a good plan. What about a memoir? You mentioned earlier the date rape, and I know it's a painful subject, and you brought it out in your fiction. Is there any chance that you will write a story about your life? I think it would inspire a lot of people.
Test.
Yes, no, I
may
think
I
it
put
would.
you in it?
Sure, sure. I'll edit it for you. Let me just volunteer
bet you
right now.
will.
Seriously, have you ever thought about sharing your life in that way?
No, but no, there are so many skeletons in those closets.
Well, if there are young writers out there watching this interview today, what can they learn from you and your example?
Tenacity, I hope. Tenacity, and also treat being an author like a job.
Now, let me ask you about Redeemed. All your books, the end for now, how are we going to handle that on Redeemed?
The end, I really mean it this time.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for being here, Phil.
Thank you.
And thank all of you for joining us on Writing Out Loud.